Hi, in this video, let's begin to discuss the different topics for Java J2EE interview. Generally, people start attending interviews after 3 to 4 years. By this time, they spend a lot of time understanding the functionality of the project, how the project operates, and different aspects of the project, and a little bit of coding too. But when they enter an interview, they're expected that they use all the concepts of Java. So that is where people really get surprised and they're expected that they write a code on all the topics. So one of my friends have asked me to give a complete picture of topics that we need to prepare for an interview. So I thought to make a video on the complete Java J2EE landscape that we need to understand just before we go for an interview. This will help us to uh, stop us getting surprised with the questions, because as a Java J2EE experienced candidate, be it 3 years, 4 years or 8 years, you are expected that you need to know all these topics in detail. If not in detail, at least a fair knowledge is definitely required. So let's discuss that. So I'll explain you the complete landscape of Java J2EE. So everybody have their own perspective of classifying things. In a similar way, my way of classifying things would be as follows. So J2EE, it's a major core concepts interview looks for. So let's see what are the topics that we deal in Java J2EE. We deal with core Java. When I say core Java, it comprises of all OOPS concepts, strings, collections, files, threads, serialization, all together comes under core Java. And design patterns, different design patterns. We have Java design patterns as well as J2EE design patterns. And this is a very common question that they ask is that have you ever used any design patterns in your code? That's going to be your first question. And then about JSP and servlets, the life cycle, different generic servlet, HTTP servlet, HTTP request, HTTP response, and what's the difference between JSPs and servlets all together. And then coming to MVC architecture, you're expected that you know the MVC type 1, type 2, why we go for an MVC architecture. Once a new release being hit, how it reaches a deployment descriptor, and then how a servlet is involved, how the request parameters are taken and then validated, the business logic, how do we interact with the DB, and how, or maybe a web service, and how we display back a JSP. All these things are discussed in the interviews. As an interviewer, you're expected that you know all these topics. Once you are good in this topic, they move to the next topic, which is frameworks. I've seen a lot of people asking you about Spring framework, whether you are from a background of Spring or not. They expect that you know Spring at least in theory, because a lot of the projects are moving towards Spring. So I always advise you that you have good knowledge. If not, at least start now and get knowledge on frameworks. Then comes the databases. When I speak about database, I speak about how you write a SQL queries. That's very important. And most of the times you're asked to write a join queries, left join, right join, inner join, and then complex queries, sometimes procedures. So you're expected to know of a good deal of writing a complex queries, and then how you connect to database from your Java code using JDBC, or it could be any ORM framework for that matter, Hibernate, IBAT, and all that. So you need to know these topics as well. And then you need to know about at least one of the web services. It could be a SOAP web services or REST web services. I prefer that you learn REST web services because that is being used in most of the projects. And then this is the next two are not mandatory, but then so most of the projects do ask for these requirements. At least you must know about Ant or a Maven. I suggest you to go for Maven because it helps you to do beyond Ant. Like it also helps you to do dependency jars and all dependency take care of the dependency things and all that. So read about Maven. And then on a very few projects, there might be a requirement on UI. So you'll be asked about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, and AngularJS. Don't get surprised if someone asks you about all these things. So if you prepare all these 6 topics, at least have a fair knowledge on these topics, you are good to go for any Java J2EE interview. That's all guys. All the best for your preparation.